So multiple intelligence is another form, similar form in this, but they leave out the astrology, right?
Right.
You can't
Right.
ask a child, right?
That that
Well,
that's the that's the thing that gets me. I mean, you know, it's subjective, and I guess that's. I mean, they don't. I mean, maybe take it for granted that we've been exposed to certain things. We look at a certain way, but there's no way that you're going to get the real answer from
mm-mm,
either the adult or a child. You're not going to get the real answer from that.
no,
You
no,
know what I'm
and
saying?
child might be more honest than the adult, which is right, the truth of it, right? The
Right.
adult has these embarrassments and these things that they don't want you to see or don't
Mm-hmm.
want you to know. And the child might be a little bit more honest, like, no, I like to do this or I don't like to do. But the thing is that, you know, let's talk a little bit about astrology in this regard and how things work.
Right.
Um, you know, you have 16 basic personalities with the Myers-Briggs process, right?
Right.
Okay, well, probably people say you only got 12 with astrology, right? So it's supposed they got more than you have. Well, not
Uh,
really, right? Um, let's start here, right? When we look at astrology from the Jyotish point of view, right, we have what are called nakshatras, right? Nakshatras, there's 27 nakshatras, 27. Now, of course, 16 is not even close to 27. And those 27, right, have four variations each. So you multiply the 27 times four, you come up with 108 base personality types, right? That we can pull from. So 108 base personality types that give us a keen understanding. And I'm talking about just the basis of who you are, the ascendant or the moon, right? Then you can see that the Myers Briggs doesn't even compare, even in the smallest degree, to what
right.
we have in the Jyotish system. Not only to mention that, and I'm telling you, that's just one placement, right? If we look at all the other planetary placements, excluding, of course, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, right? Then you have that seven planetary placements times 108. Y'all still get the picture, right? That
Right.
these are variables that can be really fine tuned to the point where, and let's even just take for example public speaking, right? Let's say you're hiring someone to do a job for public speaking, that you need someone as a PR, right, manager, a PR spokesperson, right? If you have Saturn and Sun conjoined, right, in Earth signs, typically, right, Taurus or Virgo, the person's not a great spokesperson in the grand scheme of things. They don't like to be in the limelight. They have what you consider one of the fears, which is Saturn, of public speaking. That's one of the major fears, right, that people have. So, you know, go figure, right? That person, now, you don't know that until you actually do intense research and do those statistical studies to see, right, that hey, this person doesn't do well with public speaking.
Right.
So, that's just one small kind of piece of the puzzle. And the thing is that this can be used not just in business, right? In corporate America, but you could use it in sports, right?
Absolutely. Listen, I got. I don't even. I think I even talked to you about this before, man. Maybe a little while ago. But I got a crazy idea, man. I don't even want to say it on the podcast. It's so crazy in that regard with the sports thing.
um there is a fella, and help me out with his name. I do have some of his information. And he used Western astrology too.
Mm-hmm.
um what is the guy's name? He did a statistical study. um I could probably go grab it, but I don't want to go travel all the way across the library to find it. um uh he did statistical studies to show that uh the astrology, right, does hold some validity. And he started off with a skeptical um approach, I know you know what I'm talking about, right?
I can't remember his name, but I know who you're talking about.
Right. He's wrote a couple of books on it, right? I think it's called Cosmic Types or Cosmic Archetypes, something like that, right?
Hmm.
Um, and he showed, statistically speaking, that when Mars is in a certain 10th house or midheaven position, that these individuals make better athletes, right? So, you know, it's not that the West hasn't necessarily known these things. It's just still part of the undertow, right? Or the kind of the back end of things. But if you really dig down deep, you could use it in such a way that every area of life, right, can be really focused in on with laser like precision, right? If you have your athletes, if you have a coach, right? And if you got coaches out there, if one of you are coaches that are watching, contact me, contact Atef, contact Harut. We can definitely show you, right, who your star players are, right? That's easy
Right.
to see, right? Traditional, one of the traditional cliche-ish kind of placements is Mars in the third house, right? Mars in the third house is going to give an excellent athlete, right? Mars in the sixth house, LeBron James. I think LeBron has Mars in the sixth in Aquarius. I think, if I'm correct, right? I'm not sure. I'd have to go double check. But Mars in the sixth house, right? Mars in the 10th house, Mars in the
Hmm.
ascendant. These are going to be your better athletes, right? So, if you're a betting man, right? They have sports astrology, right?
Oh,
Not to
let me ask you a
say,
question real quick.
go ahead, yeah.
Would you say, piggybacking off the last show, on the flip side
Hmm.
of the Kuja Dosh, would you say that a lot of people with certain Kuja Dosh placements um, make can make good athletes?
No, no.
Okay.
Because you have to have certain things in play, right, to do that. Like with Serena Williams, right? And I know we beating
Right.
up on Serena. Serena, you just got to come, right? Um, she has Mars in the fourth, right?
Right.
But she's Aries ascendant,
Hmm.
and so the ascendant ruler, right, is really the key tell all because we have Kamala Harris, and she would be horrible, right, with that
Right.
Kujadosh if we put her in any sports arena, right? She get hit,
Right.
she'll fold like a like a a leaf, right? So,
Right.
it's not just that, but Kujadosh does give some indication of, um, and the thing about it is that with Serena, right, she has Moon, I believe, in the fifth in Leo, right? Um,
I think her moon is in.
is it?
Is in. I don't know. Why I thought her moon might have been in. Where is her moon? I don't remember right now. I have to look back. I don't remember right
Um,
now.
yeah,
I thought
she
might
she's
even
she's a
be
special
Aries.
case. I don't know if that was an
No, no, no,
exchange
no,
there.
no, 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 no. Because hers isn't canceled. So no, it wasn't
Moon's in the
Aries.
fifth. Yeah, it's Moon's in the fifth. I'm looking at it now. Yeah,
Okay.
Moon's in the fifth. But she has Rahu, right?
Yeah, right there
With
too.
with right, and so you know that fifth house is also, guess what? It's sports,
Right.
right? The third house, fifth house, sixth house, right? Those are classic sports houses, right? Because the fifth is the third from the third. So, fifth house is strategic in a way, right? If you watch her play, she's very strategic. She's very um, intuitional, right?
Right.
And remember, Moon rules Mars in the fifth house of intelligence. So that's where she gets a lot of her powers from. But Kuja Dosh wouldn't necessarily be a good way to gauge that,
Not
right?
like direct, but certain
Not
like
direct.
a
You
yeah.
just know that they have a fiery spirit. Yes,
Right.
absolutely, right. They have more of a tint of the redness to them, their aura would come out a lot, stronger in the sense of that martial energy. But um, you know, doctors, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look to the sixth house, right? You look to the sun, look to the sixth lord. Those your classic doctors, right? To find out the healing aspect, if the person can do well in healing, not just in the sense of being able to tell someone if they're sick, but know intuitively, right, whether or not that person is going to be able to reach the end goal of the end of their illness or their ailments. So, and the caring, the service that's behind being a doctor, those are things that we look for. We can see clearly in a chart without any interpretation.
Well,
Um,
you could see a like a general practitioner versus a surgeon.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, you're absolutely right on, right? Or even specialists, right?
Right.
With regards to oncology, right? Gynecology, right? You would see a sixth house, seventh house, or sixth house, eighth house type thing going, right? The 12th house is also good for people that are in the healthcare field, right? 12th house is excellent because that's where you deal in health, right? Is the 12th house, is hospitals and things like that. So, the science is vast in its applications. I mean, once you begin to do the studies and the research and the case studies, you can see clearly over and over and over the patterns that are repeatedly there, you know,
Mm-hmm.
without a doubt. Lawyers, right? Saturn in the 10th, classic lawyers placement, right? Because they love the law. They love to study. Saturn is the law. Jupiter is one side of the law, but Saturn is actually quote unquote the classic planet of the law. That's why you see the judges, they wear black, right? That's why lawyers don't come in with big red ties and big blue suits, right? I'm sure they can't have you have some that do that, exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, one of those serious hardcore lawyer types, they wear darker colors, right?
Right.
So you can see it, right? It's there. It's written. And everybody comes with something. No one is left giftless on this planet. No one is left without talents. But a lot of times, the other side of the equation is just because you have talents, if you don't have the discipline to implement those talents, that's where the failure comes into play. Right?
Right.
And a weakened Saturn, because look, Serena has Mars debilitated,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Mars is the planet of discipline, but so is Saturn, right? Saturn is the discipline that takes you over, right? Years and years and years and years and years to get to the high level of being a judge, to get to the high level of being um, higher in ranking in certain offices, because Saturn is time. And to have that endurance, Saturn gives that endurance. So if you're hiring someone and you know that they have a weakened Saturn, and I always put the Saturn because Saturn is the quintessential planet for career. That's what we look for to see if you really are going to make it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have a lot of talent and a lot of ability, you'll see the talent, right? But talent is only one piece of the puzzle. Overnight successes aren't overnight. They're disciplined and they're continuous processes that they have to implement over given periods to get to that stardom level, to get to the fame, to get to the recognition. So, if you see someone with a sabotaged moon with Saturn, right? Their fear factor is gonna inhibit them from really being able to get the job done, because one of the things that Saturn can do with that moon that's compromised can give recriminations or doubt.
Mm-hmm.
See, the Myers-Briggs can't calculate that, right?
No.
It can't fold in, hey, you know what? Maybe this isn't, the person for us, because that Saturn and Moon, or whatever of the 16 personality types, it doesn't have one that says failure, right? Or or impatience, right? Or um and they try to say, well, it kind of does, because you have one personality type that does this, and but again, those are talents.
Right.
Those are skill sets. We all have some type of talent, right? You know, even a dog can have talents, right? That doesn't give you the ability to make them manifest on this plane. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's a shortcoming, right? In that, for example, another aspect of Jyotish are dasha systems, which this is really where it comes into play, right? Because you might be in that Mars dasha that gives you everything that you desire in the sense of, let's say, boxing, right? But when Rahu comes, now you're addicted to drugs, right? Right.
Right.
Now you have a fantasy that you have to live out overseas, right? And people that have done that. I'm sure they've reached to the height, and then now they want to go sit on the beach and paint doves, right? Right. So
Yeah.
if you were wise, if you were a corporate astrologer, a corporate hiring HR department, you say, okay, well, we're going to extend your contract till you hit this dasha, right? And at the dasha, right, we can renegotiate, right, the contract and see
Cause
if
you,
you'd like to continue. You see what I mean? Like,
yeah, cause you're gonna get antsy around this time. You're gonna
oh, you're
wanna.
gonna have a whole lot of things happen, right? Right.
Right.
Or let's say you're
Yeah.
gonna hit a K2 dasha and you're numb, right? You've given up on the external avenues of life. Now it's internalized
Right.
processes, right?
Right.
You see what I mean? Like, so it's not just the planetary placements, folks. That's just one aspect. Transits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Transits moving through the heavens, right? So let's say, you know, you got a great employee. They're one of the best executives that you've got, right? But guess what? Saturn's hitting K2 in the seventh house, right? Their performance is going to diminish, right? Because seventh house is business, right? Their deal making capacity is going to be tested at the time, right? Right. You might want to go to Africa for a while. True. Right. Right. Seventh house Saturn transit, and it's debilitated, right? Libra
Right.
ascendant. They're not going to have the same wherewithal because their life is going to go through dramatic changes for the next 2.5 years, right? They might not have the wherewithal to withstand high pressure, high power business meetings. So they fold, right? They give in. They're shortchanged. They don't care because their life is now being tested at a level that you and I aren't being tested upon, or the management isn't being tested upon, right? So you see what I mean? Like, these are the things that it just falls so short, right? And being able to utilize a profound, deep, arcane science that can really just tell you exactly what you've got on your hands here.